Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, June 10th, 2013. It's 9 a.m. and we'll start with a short prayer and then Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask that Commissioner Melvin lead us in the pledge, and I'll say a short prayer. If everybody will please rise, and gentlemen, remove your hats, please. Dear Lord, we just thank you for the rain that we're receiving, Lord. Lord, we thank you for all your blessings. And Lord, just remind us that we're simply stewards of that to which you've given us stewardship over. Lord, guide our thoughts and our speech, and we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before I ask if there's any add-ons this morning, I'll note that Commissioner Salter's out. He had to have hip replacement. I guess all those years of serving our country and jumping out of airplanes in service to our country has caught up to him. So we wish him well, and he appears like he's recovering well. So he's already getting bored of being at home and going through rehabilitation. So that's a good sign. So I'll start to my right with Commissioner Williamson.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Melvin.
Just one announcement. With leave of the board, I'm scheduled to attend the Florida Association of Counties annual meeting. I will be present for the next Monday meeting, but I won't be present for the Thursday meeting. We'll be in Tampa.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Lynchard.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Anything from staff? Okay. I do have one add-on. I'd like to make it number 16 under Administrative Committee. We have a citizen that would like to make a few comments about some possible improvements to Highway 98 and the Causeway. I've discussed it with him, and it seems like some pretty good ideas, and he'd like to bring those to the board, so we'll set that up at the end of the Administrative Committee. Go ahead and start now with Economic Development Committee, and Commissioner Salter's out, so I'll take that committee this morning. There's an update on Industrial Recruitment and Retention and Expansion Fund, RREF, the REFI, by Bryce Harris, Associate Director of University of West Florida Office of Economic Development and Engagement. And Bryce, you and Shannon have the floor. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, esteemed members of the Commission. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to come before you again to give you a fairly brief update this morning on our efforts at UWF regarding the Oil Spill Recovery Grant Program. I do have a brief presentation. So I was just here a couple of months ago, and I think that I had given a fairly broad overview of the programmatics, exactly how the program operates, and so I thought it would be appropriate, as did Shannon, to come in this morning and give you an update as to some of the successes that we've had. So, Mr. Rogers, are you? So, just to start out, I'm happy to report that we have to date successfully encumbered all but $1,000 of the first 2 years of funds that were made available under Senate Bill 2156. What that means is that, just to remind everyone here, that every year the University of West Florida does not receive a lump sum of $10 million for us to distribute, but rather we, as we develop projects, we invoice the Department of Economic Opportunity on a per project basis, and once approved, then DEO sends those funds to UWF for us to allocate to those specific projects. And so with that in mind, to date, we actually have about $6.7 million that have been allocated to projects via performance-based funding agreements, about $13.2 million that we have encumbered for specific projects that have not yet been finalized, but rather the negotiations are still ongoing. To date, we have had a total of 7 projects that we've announced. I'm happy to be here with you just only a few short weeks after Brighton made its very, very important announcement, and we were very happy to support that project. Also recently, we've had a second round of expansion by Navy Federal Credit Union, so we actually have 2 projects ongoing with Navy Federal. Just last week, we were happy to see the announcement in Escambia County of Global Business Solutions Incorporated, an IT company that has a lot of potential and certainly a lot of intriguing private and public sector clients. They're growing very rapidly. Marjam Supply Company over in Walton, as well as Grayton Beer Company, also there in Walton County. And finally, Iserona, which was announced last year over in Bay County. So we're happy that we're achieving, we believe, the goal of having a broad range of employment opportunities for the residents of the 8 disproportionately affected counties of Northwest Florida as a result of this project. So to move quickly to the net effect of all of the announced projects to date, collectively there's about 2,600 direct, net new, sustainable private sector jobs that these projects that have been announced are yielding. What that means is that those jobs, the companies are under a contractual obligation to not only create the jobs, but also to maintain them for a minimum of 3 years for the jobs to be fully vested in the grant program. Those contracts that the companies are signing, to remind you, do have provisions for clawing back funds in the event of non-performance and/or withholding funds in the case of performance-based payment of the award. These jobs have actually come at an average program cost of about $2,500 per job. Now, that image is a bit skewed because I'm not taking into account the state of Florida incentive programs rather, such as the Qualified Targeted Industry or perhaps the Quick Response Training Program, but also to remind you, these funds are intended to supplement rather than substitute for the state incentives. And so as we're providing that incremental funding at the margin of a deal in order to push it over the finish line, on average, this is what the expenditures are that we've incurred, about $2,500 per job. These projects also are projected to yield about 5,700 indirect and induced jobs. That means that the difference between direct jobs, induced, and indirect, the direct jobs are the ones that are actually being created directly by the companies themselves. The indirect jobs would be those that are going to be, as a result of, say, construction costs. They're going to be much more short-term, short-lived, we project. And then the induced jobs would be something associated with, say, the supply chain throughout Northwest Florida. So we're very happy to see those numbers and to report those to you. We feel that we're making some pretty good progress. Moving to the outstanding projects that we have here locally, between Escambia and Santa Rosa County, out of the $13 million plus that we currently have encumbered in-house for projects, about $11.3 million are for projects here in Escambia and Santa Rosa County, and some of that money does include an award offer that's been made both for projects Sierra and Harvest that I know that you're all well aware of. These projects, the ones, not just the ones for the local county, but collectively for the funds that we have encumbered, they have the potential to yield another 710 direct net new private sector jobs that also must be maintained for a minimum of 3 years in order to be fully vested, and another estimated 1,800 indirect and induced jobs that would be a result of that. There's the potential for an additional $45 million, give or take, actually probably more, $45 million plus in net new capital investment, which actually follows what I think I omitted in a previous slide, about $190 million in net new capital investment that has been committed through these contracts for the 7 projects that we have so far approved. And for these outstanding projects to be pushed over the finish line, we have to conclude our negotiations, and obviously the contracts themselves must be executed. So the companies must be willing to sign on the dotted line, committing to creating the jobs, maintaining them at the wages that they promised, with the capital investment that they promised. Otherwise, they could be either have funds withheld or clawed back, so to speak. And really my final slide is just looking at the way forward for oil spill recovery here in the area. We are moving into year 3 of the oil spill recovery program. The governor signed the $10 million available into law, with the signing of the budget about 2 weeks ago. Those funds become available on the 1st of July with the start of the fiscal year, and this is anticipated to be the final year of the program. The Oil Spill Recovery Act contained in Senate Bill 2156 specified that this was to be a 3-year, $30 million program. We do accept the possibility that there could be program funds that that are left over, if you will, at the end of the third at the end of the third program year, for those projects that perhaps do not come into fruition at all, or those that don't come fully into fruition. And so I believe that there is some decisions that ultimately have to be made by folks that are higher up above my pay grade as to what to do with any residual funds, if you will, at the end of the next fiscal year. As you're all aware, we do have the NERDA process that is ongoing, of course, the Restore Act process as well, and then the state of Florida's independent damage claim, which that last sub-bullet just references that's to come up underneath this bullet here, just references the Triumph Gulf Coast, which was contained in House Bill 7007. And so with that, this concludes my update this morning, and I'd be happy to take any questions, comments, criticisms, et cetera. Thank you all.
Okay, questions from fellow board members? Bryce, I had a couple questions on the Senate bill, the emergency funding that Senator Gates got pushed through. That has that been pretty much staying on target? Has those dollars every year been being used?
Yes, sir. To the extent that that we're able to, then yes, sir. Those dollars have been.
Okay. Well, you say to the extent, so they haven't been maximized or used to their full potential. There's dollars left. I don't have the full fiscal picture with me today, sir, but I understand that it's been we have been those dollars have been utilized effectively. Okay, good. All right. And then similar is one other thing. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
I believe the first couple of bullets you spoke of with the encumbered dollars were for lack of a better term, the Senator Gates dollars.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that $20 million, all but $1,000 of the 20. So we've done a very good job, and
Well, yeah,
you're to be commended.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We tried very hard, and I'm not certain that we could have gotten any closer, even if we tried.
Well, $1,000 is $1,000, but out of $20 million, that's an outstanding job, young man.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Lynch.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Bryce, for coming over and giving us the update. I appreciate this, the information. It's a good follow-up to the last presentation you gave. It really does show how much work is being done. But we have about $13 million that's encumbered to projects. Do you have any I guess guidelines or any directions from the state? What happens if some of the projects that are encumbered fall out? Does that money, is it still available, or is it going to go back?
Well, I can give an example of one project that we actually had over in Bay County in Okaloosa County, that we had funding of $3 million allocated to that project, and ultimately the project was not viable, and so we canceled that grant award. But the situation that arose was that because we had the $3 million in-house already, we reached agreement with the Department of Economic Opportunity that we would repurpose the existing funds that we had for projects as they came into fruition, and that we would halt continued invoicing of the funds until we had all $3 million from that project repurposed. And so we haven't had a situation arise similar to that since then, thankfully. But your question is well taken, and that is, I believe, the outstanding question of the day. What does happen ultimately at the end of next year to any funds that are left over? There has been some discussion that has taken place, but at very much a preliminary level. The law itself does not contain a reversion clause. And so there is no specific direction that at the end of year 3 that UWF shall return to the general fund any unspent dollars. I'm not even certain that there is a fiscal mechanism in place to do that. The state isn't accustomed to having dollars returned, such as in that case. And so there are many questions that have yet to be resolved, but I expect that they will be resolved over the next 12 to 14 months.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Milton.
With the outstanding job that you guys are doing with these dollars, I think we can make a very strong case, because you're right, the law doesn't contain any language I've heard verbal comments from Senator Gates, casual comments, he's a personal friend. I've heard statements made, but I think the way we're handling those funds and the way we're treating them is complying completely with the intent of that law. And so I think we can build a very good case if we happen to have a little bit of money left on the table between the 2 or 3 boards of commissioners to plead.
Yes, sir.
Plead to keep the money.
And I believe that it would take leadership on the part of this board as well as your peers in the other 7 counties really to have the most effective and cogent argument.
And I think out of and so far we're on track to do that. So far it doesn't look like, based on what you briefed this morning, that we would even need to do that.
I hope not, but I suppose only time will tell.
Bryce, just to clarify, we're talking about, $10 million a year, $30 million. Can you tell us what has fallen into Santa Rosa County? I'd hate to leave here with our citizens having the impression that there was $10 million a year that came in our county, and some folks may just need some clarification on that.
Yes, sir. This is actually $10 million that has been made available for each of 3 years that is to be dispersed on a competitive basis, if you will, throughout the 8 coastal counties of Northwest Florida that were most impacted by the oil spill of 2010. And so it's not, there has been no single lump sum or allocation made on a per county basis. In fact, so to date, we have had projects that have been announced in 4 of the 8 counties. That includes Santa Rosa County. I will state that that Project Breeze, to date remains the recipient of the single largest oil spill grant award from our program, and simply because of the return on investment calculation that the University of West Florida does in conjunction with both DEO and Enterprise Florida. So based on that standard model of of measuring economic impact, that's how we determine ultimately what awards are going to be issued. And so Santa Rosa County there again still has the single largest recipient of these grant funds. And so, but we anticipate that there is going to be a sizable amount of these funds that will be awarded, that have already been awarded, but ultimately will be contracted with a few projects that are currently in the pipeline here in Santa Rosa that do include Sierra and Harvest.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bryce, thanks for coming out today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you.
Shannon, anything else? All right. With that then, we'll conclude Economic Development Committee and move on to the Administrative Committee. Item number 1 is discussion of waiver of nuisance noise ordinance requirements for entertainment associated with the Boo Weekly Annual Charity Golf Tournament until midnight July 26th and 27th, 2013, for partial adjacent to Hidden Creek Golf Course. And the other night we had the Santa Rosa County Central Republican Club meeting down there at Hidden Creek, and I was able to speak with the general manager about this. He assured me that they would be more than cordial with our neighbors down there, as they have been in the past. And I feel real comfortable about this. This is a great event, puts dollars into our community, and Boo takes his time and does this. So if there's any other comments or questions, we have the GM and some folks here from Hidden Creek this morning. If there's no other comments or questions, Commissioner.
I had one comment, and I spoke to Toggy earlier. I do support this. I think it's great for the community. I just want to make sure that if we allow this, that it ends at 12 o'clock, no matter what the circumstance is, because I don't want to get another call at 2 o'clock in the morning like I got last year.
No problem. You got a hand.
These golfers are hard people to get along with sometimes, I tell you. So,
Yeah, we had a little late start last year. We have everything ironclad this year.
all right.
Well, just arm us with your cell phone number so at 2 o'clock we can tell them how to
It's
get a hold of you.
posted everywhere. I don't see how they didn't get me last year, so.
All right. Okay.
Thank y'all very much
Mr.
for
Chair.
allowing this.
Commissioner Lynch.
Just send our congratulations to Boo for being named Player of the Month for May. Brought some charitable donations, I think
It's
$50,000.
Christ Starfish Foundation and Vision of Hope.
Yeah.
Both of them's local charities, so each one of them's gonna get 25 grand apiece. So
That's awesome. Thank you.
maybe he'll have a few more this year.
Yeah.
So,
That's what we need, yeah. bringing it home local, these guys are, it's something, so. All right, guys, you got anything you'd like to say? We'd certainly.
No, thank you for your
This is-
support. You know, we try to do a good thing for the county and the Bar Beach, and everybody that comes from all over the United States, they have a great time on the beach. So,
And give us the times and dates again, because this is streaming, so you might as well get a plug in.
it's July 26th and 27th at Hidden Creek Golf Course. And this is Dave Taylor, the GM of Hidden Creek. So anybody wants to come out and have a good time, it's a good time.
All right, great. We're looking forward to it, and you guys look forward, we'll approve this on Thursday.
Well, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right. hearing no-
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner-
I would note in your packet, and Toggy had gotten it to us, the, Dr. Peterson with the Holly by the Sea Homeowners Association had sent you a letter. They did ask for some contact, they really did ask for some contact information, and so you're going, I assume that you're going to respond to these, I mean, provide them this information.
Yes, he hit the same thing last year.
Okay.
And the one road directly behind the, I think it's Pro-Am Court, is that right, Dave? We offer everybody there that's on that road is directly impacted, either tickets to the event or send them somewhere for the weekend. And everybody last year wanted to come to the event. Nobody left. So, yeah, we try to make it. Dave's got a contact with all the members and the homeowners. He sends an email out with his contact information, ours. And I don't think there was any issues on the stipulations that was provided last year.
Well, we engaged together with Pete Peterson the other evening, so.
Yes, and when he spoke to him, he was more than supportive of it, and they have my contact information as well as my cell phone and Toggy's if anything is to go wrong, or for some reason it will be cut off at midnight, and if anybody has any complaints, they can get a hold of us directly.
Good. All right.
And we will have the sheriff's department there, as we did last year, so.
All right. Well, you guys have a good event, and hopefully the weather will hold up for us, and be
Hope so.
nice. All right, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll move that to Thursday without objection, and hearing none, it passes. Item number 2 is discussion of scope of services and fee for contract with Atkins North America Incorporated for consulting services associated with the Restore Act. We have Jeff Helms here today. That Jeff and the Atkins firm won the bid the other day from that. This will all be handled with our attorney, county administrator. Do we have any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in your packet, you see the attachment A that Mr. Helms had given us, also a pricing sheet. We're going to put together a contract, and probably by Thursday, that we're still trying to kind of get our arms around what's going to be a pretty undefined event right now, and so trying to get them some kind of assurance that we can pay them probably on an hourly basis based on task or the not to exceed rate.
Squeeze them as tight as you can. Jeff, you have any comments this morning?
The only comment I would make is, based on the discussion in our presentation, we expect to be extremely aggressive the first 4 months. And one of the reasons we presented the amount like it was, I know you had some comments, Commissioner, about wanting to be able to budget. And our goal is to make sure that Santa Rosa County, we can get a few projects funded under pots 2 and 3, and that basically pays for our services. If we can do that, I think there's things that we really need to do. And what I'll do is I'll come back probably real soon after we get the contract going. I've got a little PowerPoint that shows you the watershed, and I want to just show you and walk through it with Roger's help, what we need to do to kind of include a few more projects. And that's our goal, is to do that. But we're going to be very aggressive over the first 4 months. And then you've got your local Restore Council that we've got to get going with their activities, and we need to give them some homework and some assignments and get them to make some decisions to bring to you. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lyncher.
Thank you. And I just want to remind everyone and point out, it's more than just Restore. It's Restore. It's likely going to be tasks involving NERDA, down the road, potentially tasks involving Triumph Gulf Coast that Bryce mentioned earlier, the NIFWIF, National Wildlife Federation funds that are already out there and available. So there
Yeah,
are,
the Gulf Environmental Fund, absolutely.
yeah, so it's not just restore in pots 1, 2, and 3. There are these other sources of funding out there that we need to aggressively go after, because other counties are.
And you've got-
we don't want to fall behind.
And Mr. Chairman, you know, you got the Nature Conservancy and some of these, and we really need to sit down as a county and meet with a lot of these organizations. Let's find out who the decision makers really are, and let's meet with them and get a plan to chart out how to, number one, posture for the Gulf Environmental Fund. That's the biggest priority that we have right now.
Jeff, and I might say, all the presentations that day were outstanding. We have a lot of great people in Santa Rosa County that put their heart and soul into this. But personally, for me, it was the enthusiasm that you showed on this project, and I know it'll continue through the entire course of this thing, so. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I appreciate those comments.
With no other comments, then I'll move this to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 3 is discussion of bid received for purchase of the Navarre Community Center. We all have that backup in our on hand for the bid. The only bid that we received, the one bid was received on this property, and that was from the Navarre Area Board of Realtors in the amount of $215,000 for the building, property and contents to include furniture and kitchenware. Attached is the letter, as you see from your backup. Their offer is basically, I would say, rough math, about 25% higher than the appraised value. And I'll open it now to comments from the rest of the board.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a very generous offer, and looks good to me. The only addition that I would like to see made to it would be the restriction that you folks charge no more than what the county is charging for the other room rates. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be perfectly happy as commissioner of that district. If there's no other discussion from the board to, go ahead.
Commissioner, oh, okay. All right, name and address, please, for the records.
Jody Van Wagner, 7100 Classic Court, Navarre.
Go ahead, please.
No, it was in our bid, actually, that we would maintain the building as it is now, available to the residents of Navarre and to the community, as we always have, until a new community center can be built. So none of that will change.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one more comment that I failed to make. The administrator caught me on it.
Commissioner.
The other thing is that these funds are formally reserved for the new community center in Navarre.
That was my caveat.
So that those funds will be set aside, so we can begin to accumulate the money required to provide a community center for our community.
All right, then if there's any other comments?
Then I would ask that the board move this for this disposition Thursday with those two caveats, that they charge no more than what we charge for our rentals per room, and that those funds be set aside exclusively for the use of the Navarre Community Center.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? County Attorney, you clear on this, what we want? Yes, ma'am.
I am delighted that you're going to do this.
I need name and address, please.
Loretta Aiken, 1828 Sundown Drive, Navarre.
Thank you.
That building does not have adequate parking for the public if they wanted to have a big affair. The Board of Realtors has done a wonderful job of maintaining everything and leasing out the building for you and everything. I would talk to Jim Melvin about, there is a building in Navarre, dead center in our community, and it's on the market, and I think y'all ought to go after this. Navarre deserves this building or one like it, and I think it's workable financially. The chamber has to meet and pay, I think it's like $700 or something to rent a building once a month to have a meeting, and they have to get sponsors. And I would like to see our commissioner move forward quickly and try to get this resolved so the people of Navarre have a decent place to meet. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we understand that. Loretta, I'm sure Commissioner Melvin heard that loud and clear, and, you know, he's been very active in the community he represents, so I appreciate you bringing that to the board. At this
And
time,
just for one more comment, that's been recommended to me for about the last 6 months by just about everybody in Navarre, and everybody's in agreement. That's what they want. What we've got to do is find the money to buy it.
all right. Okay, any other comments? Okay, if not, then I'll move Commissioner Melvin's without objection. Hearing none, it passes. So, y'all enjoy your new building. Paperwork to follow. So. All right, item number 4 is discussion of soliciting proposals for design and architectural services for the Pace Tennis Complex adjacent to the Benny Russell Park. You have backup there, Commissioner Williamson, any
Yeah,
comments?
I think I'm the backup. There's no backup
There you
in
go.
there. Agenda. Commissioner Salter and I have been working with the Pace Area Tennis Association for the last 5 years or so, and we're finally coming together here, and it will be paid for with funds from District 1 and District 3 recreation funds, and the folks out there are really excited about it. I think it'd be a great thing for the area. They won't be going to Pensacola to spend their money, plus they'll be able to draw tennis tournaments from all over the nation in here once it's completed. And these folks have been working hard, like I say, for several years. They were about ready to give up, but I think now that we told them, had a meeting with them the other day and told them that, you know, things just don't happen that fast in government, but we're on the right track now, and they all seem to be very happy and on board, and we're looking forward to working with them. Great. But we need to start with the architectural firm.
All right, hearing no other comments, then we'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 5 is discussion of participating in the National Association of Counties, NACO Prescription Drug Card Program. You do have backup on this one. Gentlemen, this is something I've been bringing to the county, or have brought to the county for about the last 3 years. We've pretty much chased it down. As you can see here, it would be a benefit, especially to those that don't have insurance. Our county attorney had some questions about it. That's the reason it's been a little long in wind as far as coming to the board. I don't see any downside of this. There's actually majority of the counties in the state of Florida are actively involved in this. It's not a requirement by anybody to participate. It's free to our citizens. All the literature and the backup material are free to our citizens. Some of the caveats that we've thought about on this is people coming out of incarceration that may have insurance, not have insurance, that would help them. I believe we even chased it to ground while they are incarcerated, they could possibly use this, the sheriff's office can use this discount card to help overall cost and defray those costs. So if there are any questions at this time from the board, I would anticipate us getting involved in this. Commissioner Williamson.
My question is, of course, there's no cost to the citizen, but is there a cost to the county, and who administers it? I want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman, as the board's representative of the Florida Association of Counties, I've been kind of watching this as it developed, and no, there's no administrative cost. Then the Florida Association of Counties strongly backs this program for the state. The reason that we're using the NACO model is that there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. This is the best program out there. It's free to the citizens. It offers up to a 25% discount to the citizens. And it's just a win-win situation.
So NACO is the one that administers the program?
Yes. That's my understanding.
There's no burden on the county. That's all I want to make sure. I don't have a problem with doing it. I think it would be a good thing, but I want to make sure on the cost.
They pretty much, I've been involved in this, like as I said, for about 3 years now, and they pretty much handle all the expenses. They'll even do press releases, preempted press releases. As it also says here that 70% of pet medication are human medications, and this can also apply to your pet. A lot of good caveats on it. So I very much look forward to moving
Well,
forward with this
through
program.
press releases, we can also, advertise it and make it available to the public. I just want to make sure that there's no
Now-
other cost.
One thing, and Angie, if you bring it up, do you want to comment on that? And the other thing was that there is a slight payback actually to the county on the usage of this card. And I want to get that right out front for our citizens so they don't think, hey, you commissioners are figuring out another way to make money or taxes in a roundabout way. It is not that. It is a simple referral cost, I think, of $1 per prescription for usage of the card. And my suggestion is going to be that we use that for indigent care here in the county. That's one expense we have that we can roll maybe, and it's not going to be a great amount, but we could roll those dollars back into the indigent care that we already provide and help lessen the tax burden somewhat. So, Ms. Jones, do you have any other comments on?
I think you all have covered it.
Okay. All right. If not, then I look forward to moving this forward on Thursday's agenda, and I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. The next item is discussion of release of mortgage for 3-acre parcel including 15,000 square foot building in Santa Rosa Industrial Park in foreclosure by Hancock Bank. We have backup on this particular piece of information. The action this board is taking today will enable Hancock Bank to get this piece of property back on the market more readily and quickly. And the outcome of this action will be the same regardless of how we proceed on this. So I for one think that getting this property on the market quickly, getting people back in there and employed is a good thing. And at this time, I'll open it to the floor. If not, I see no other comments. I'll move it to Thursday's meeting for approval. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 7 is discussion of certificate of participation in the 2013 Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, Bernie Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, state solicitation, the amount of $51,149, and designate Lieutenant Butcher as point of contact. This is an annual grant award that our sheriff's office has been lucky enough to get over the last several years, so I move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Number 8, discussion of settlement agreement in the amount of $50,000 for workers' compensation claim of former sheriff deputy as recommended by risk manager and county attorney. This is pretty much the same board policy we've handled in the past, so I'll move it to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 9 is discussion of resolution granting temporary construction easement to Florida Department of Transportation for improvements to State Road 87 and Munson Highway intersection. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 10 is discussion of extension of contract with Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for the 2012 CDGB grant for the Baghdad Sewer Extension project through January 31st, 2014. Move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 11 is discussion of the following appointments for District 4. That's Commissioner Melvin's district. J.R. Williamson, Electrical Board, Code Board of Appeals, and Claude Duvall as Fire Protection Board of Appeals. I do so without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure that on Thursday I abstain from the first part of that.
I don't know why.
Well, I have objections. No, not really.
All right. Of course, Jared's Commissioner Williamson's son, so it's only fair for him to abstain from that first portion, but I feel like that'll be a unanimous vote anyway. So.
Mr. Chairman, and if I may, I asked the county attorney to really plow that very finely to be sure that there was no problems or improprieties with that, and she assures me that all the professional fields have these boards and they all regulate themselves. That is to say, doctors serve them, the regulatory board for the doctors and the attorneys and the CPAs and the law enforcement officers and the engineering crowd. So this is very standard to bring a highly experienced individual from one of the fields.
Jared's a very well thought of young man in our community. I appreciate his interest in county and state government. So good guy. Claude's not a good bad guy either sometimes. All right, I move that without objection. Hearing none, it passes. All right, item number 12 is discussion of designation of Commissioner Cole as the delegate to the National Association of Counties Annual Conference, which is next month in Fort Worth, Texas. I don't know if does this also need to include voting or the referral to voting for the second VP? I just want to make sure the board's aware of that we are voting for second VP, and I'll bring you some names of candidates before I leave and a suggestion of which. So I'll move that to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 13 is discussion of use of roadways around Spencer OLF for the second annual Run for Water 5K event, Saturday, September 14, 2013, from 9:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 14 is discussion of use of the courthouse grounds and parking area, July 4th, 2013, for the annual July 4th Riverfest events to include temporary no-wake zone designation for a portion of the Blackwater River as requested by the Santa Rosa County Chamber of Commerce. I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. And don't forget about the duck race that day. All right, item number 15 is item scheduled for public hearing on Thursday, June 13, 2013, and we will have no public hearings that day. Item 16 is an add-on. We have Rob Williamson wanted to add that to us about some improvements that he felt may work on Highway 98 and our causeway. And Rob, if I'll get your name and address for the record, and you have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning. Rob Williamson, 7181 Blue Jack Drive, Navarre. Thanks for the opportunity to take a few minutes to speak to you this morning about what seems to be a growing problem on Navarre Beach. It's trying to get folks off of the Navarre Beach Bridge, notwithstanding, Memorial Day weekend, July 4th, Labor Day, those big events. Thanks. And, just on any given Saturday or Sunday, anytime after 2 o'clock, it starts to become an issue and traffic gets backed up. I'd like to commend Commissioner Melvin for looking at a way to try to help alleviate the problem by putting in a dedicated turn lane, and that has definitely helped. No doubt about it. I wish I could say that, I have some passion for traffic studies, but really this came about because of my 8-year-old and my 4-year-old just wearing me out on the weekends going, Daddy, why do we have to wait in this traffic? Why is there so many cars? So this is because of them that I started looking into this. First, I wanted to see, was there an improvement plan in place? And it didn't look like we had an existing plan in place to get more cars off the beach. And then second of all, I wanted to test the feasibility. So I reached out to a local engineering firm to find out, would it be possible for us to use the existing space we have, the roughly 300 linear feet that we have from the edge of the Navarre Beach Bridge to the current line where the masthead is, to add a second turn lane. So the idea is that we want to try to add a second turn lane and see the feasibility of that, to where right now we have one dedicated turn lane turning left onto 2 lanes of westbound Highway 98 traffic. My recommendation is that we reconfigure the intersection to add a second dedicated turn lane to where we would have 2 left-hand turn lanes going on to 2 westbound lanes of Navarre Parkway. Conservative estimates, you see the numbers that you have there. Depending on the taper rates, et cetera, it appears there'd be room for approximately 12 to 15 additional cars to stack in the lane, in the queue. If there are 2 lanes, that'd be roughly 30 cars. By their conservative estimate, we would increase the number of cars being able to leave the bridge by 75%. Obviously, the main issue was, how do we increase the number of cars leaving the bridge without impacting east-west flow on Highway 98? This would do that. Since we really don't have a plan in place to 4-lane the Navarre Beach Bridge anytime soon and/or add an overpass, y'all will have to determine if you feel there's a good enough return on investment to add the turn lane. I would recommend to the board that, you work with Roger and see if he could see the feasibility of it and see if the cost makes sense. There are some things here that I've done basically a boilerplate of what the expenses would be. Bottom line, you're right around $620,000 for conservative estimates to reconfigure the entire intersection with new masthead and moving the utilities and permitting and all those things that go along with it. I know that there's a vote coming before this board today to allocate roughly $217,000 in impact fees to continue on with the multi-purpose path on 399. I don't know how much additional funds there are available in the impact fee budget, but y'all will have to decide if spending $220,000 on impact fees for a multi-use path would be a better return on investment and impact more people than taking those dollars, let's say, and allocate them toward reconfiguring an intersection that could impact more positively more Santa Rosa County residents and impact positively the visitors that we have coming here. This issue isn't going away anytime soon. The local paper, I think, said it best when they said that Florida's best kept secret is a secret no longer. It's going to continue to be an issue. So I offer this up humbly as a suggestion, something you may want to consider. And in my limited capacity to do so, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner?
Yeah. Thanks, Rob, for taking your time to put this together and to take a look at it. And this is something that we've been looking at for the full time I've been in this chair. And one of the problems that we have is that we don't have free rein to do these things. You have to coordinate everything through FDOT. And FDOT's focus is on east-west traffic. And so while your points are well made and well taken, and we'll take a hard look at this, but the sticking point has always been up, and we may have a miracle in the morning, but to this point, the sticking point has been FDOT. With the new left turn arrow, they were very restrictive of what they would allow for timing. And I'll let Mr. Blaylock continue this because this is absolutely his field of expertise. But that's the problem, is that if it were ours and we could just fix it like we wanted it, that'd be a lot easier to solve.
And the Commissioner is absolutely correct. Anything we do on US 98 will have to be permitted through FDOT. Also, to remind the board, we have not received the final report of an intersection study that we conducted over Memorial Day weekend, actually looking at signal timings using just the one lane. Certainly, if we were able to find the dollars and be able to do a dual left, that would be very well. The lane that you're describing is also a through lane to the business across the street, Burger King. So that's one of the things, caveats that plays into it. But we look forward to getting a dedicated weekend signal timing. What happens is the Hurlburt traffic, as you know, is reduced on US 98 over the weekend, generally speaking. Of course, we have our weekend traffic. And our consultant is looking at a weekday timing and then programmed a weekend. Now, certainly this is not going to get everybody off the island overnight, but it will make it as efficient as possible until such time as we do an intersection redesign. And the Commissioner and I talked about doing a dual left, and the constraints with the mausoleum monument sign there, welcome to Navarre, and then the landscaping. At the time, we found we could do this relatively inexpensive. I think under $5,000 we were able to get this in place, and so certainly we'll be looking at it in the future.
I think all the things that you brought up are relevant. The DOT reviews is part of the planning that I submitted here, and I think we have a unique timing right now in that there is, with the new safety improvements to Highway 98, part of that safety improvements in the installation of those lights is also improving some of the intersections. So I don't know if it would be possible to shoehorn some of this into that, but anyway.
I would like to say, I've had a little opportunity to speak to Rob previous to this about it, and I really like the idea. I would like to see us as a board ask Roger and his staff to several things. Identify the impact fee dollars that are remaining, and how we can participate maybe in a joint venture with DOT. Look at it, take a good hard look at it. I know we got the study coming from Volker and work that in. And then if necessary, I'd be glad to reach out personally to DOT about the plan and go to Chipley if I need to, because I know everybody here has been getting hit with a ton of emails about the traffic and the time, and for the folks that live out there on the beach year round, to they get used to going to, as you and I do, we get used to running to the grocery store at a certain amount of time, and then all of a sudden we have an event out there or something, and it takes 3 or 4 times the amount of time. So I'd be glad to participate in a good hard look at this. I think the monument sign and the the landscaping of the monument sign to me would be secondary to public safety. So I'm glad to reach out to DOT on this. If Roger, you want to run it aground a little more, and I'd like the board to at least authorize staff to put some time into this.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
Yeah. Reaching out to DOT is as you all know, as we all know and understand, those funds are voted on and controlled by the TPOs and prioritized and all that, but we might be able to leverage some help through our local delegation, through Senator Gates and others, and we and also maybe get some help from Washington, D.C. And one of the things that we don't have, because I started working this immediately after being sworn in, and I, as a retired military guy, and I retired from Hurlburt, so I'm a veteran of the 98 wars. I was under the impression that the DOT participated in critical traffic flows back and forth to areas that are very, very high priority. And as we all know, Hurlburt is one of those high priority missions. But the DOD doesn't participate. They just want us to get their airmen there, but how we do it is our problem and our dollars. So that needs a little help from Washington to get the DOD to recognize, especially for the really high priority missions. And 98 is geographically constrained. There's precious little room. You couldn't 6-lane it if you had all the money in the world it took to do it. There's just not that much real estate available on that narrow peninsula to do it. We're going to have to elevate it. I've had conversations with Senator Gates about this very subject. If you've been through Central and South Florida and those really densely populated urban areas, the express route is overhead and the local route is down low. And it's going to take something like that. What we're trying to do is push an ever-increasing volume of water through a fixed volume of pipe. The diameter of the pipe is fixed, and the flow through that pipe is ever-increasing. And if you've ever flew with math or fluid dynamics, you understand that all that does is build pressure.
Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad that Rob brought this up and is proposing one solution. I think it's time that we do start investigating solutions in earnest. The traffic problem out there has just gotten worse and worse and worse. I think that's a sign of the times. Tourism is back. We're having a lot of traffic out on Navarre Beach that we didn't have last year, the year before. There's talk about a hotel coming onto Navarre Beach. That would exacerbate the problem further. So I think it is time to go ahead and move forward, work through the TPO, and try to get some relief for that intersection.
And, I know we have to work through the TPO and different things like that, but a lot of times if we don't ask, we don't get. I mean, DOT was planning to resurface the area of Highway 90 just between the 2 bridges going out of Milton. And I just happened to be at the meeting and asked about a DXL in the turn lane. And of course, the engineering staff at that time said, well, it's not in the budget, but simply asking for it, and we ended up getting it. So I don't see why we can't rally that way. So, Loretta?
Loretta Aiken, 1828 Sundown Drive, Navarre, Florida. As fire commissioner, I can tell you that we have many wrecks at that area. And I think this is one of the smartest things that's come up. And right now is time to strike while the iron is hot, because DOT is already to the Okaloosa County line with their new work they're doing. And I don't think that they're going to deny this unless there's some reason they cannot do it, because they're looking for safer ways to protect our citizens. And if we do that, we're going to have a lot less wrecks, which means instead of doing 300 plus calls a month, our fire department will get a little relief from this. I would like to recommend that you also include Bart Pullum, who used to be on the TPO. And we had this very discussion this past Tuesday night about roads and et cetera. So, but I would like to tell Rob, congratulations. And I do know that one of our people that lives in Navarre has been doing a grid of the last 3 years wrecks on Highway 98, and he came up with some real intriguing information. And I've recommended that he meet with DOT, and he's going to get with Representative Broxton also. And it's amazing what a little deletion of a turn lane or something is going to do to decrease wrecks. And that's, safety is number one. And thank you for considering that.
All right. Well, Rob, thanks for taking that time, and as he stated, he didn't just, this is an off-the-cuff citizen idea. He did inquire with get some pro bono work, I guess, from a local engineer. So, again, I would like to move forward that we ask staff to put a little time and diligence in this and identify what monies are still in that, and I do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. All right, we'll move now to engineer's report. Mr. Blaylock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have a discussion of task order number 3 to Hatchmont McDonald for T-Hanger project. You had in your backup and presented to you our concerns and justification for this task order, which included the changes to the Florida Building Code. FDOT is also standardizing new T-hanger specs, and Hatchmont was involved with them at that time, and so we are recommending that task order number 3 to Hatchmont to assist us in updating our design build package for our T-hangers.
Mr. Blaylock, I know a lot of the cost of these T-hangers is absorbed by the state on this. Will they also up the ante on this additional cost?
We would be responsible. We have our JPAs already preset, and that dollars are an 80-20 match. We'll match anything above the 80%. So they're locked into the amount they'll fund, but this would be funded through the T-hanger, Peter Prince Enterprise Fund, and there are funds available to cover these costs.
Any other questions from board members? If not, I move this without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
The next item is a discussion of task order number 29 for the Fairpoint Water Rehabilitation Project. As you see in our package, we listed a typical photograph as well as the number of documented line breaks that we've had on Fairpoint line since December of 2005. And it was shortly before that we actually made the physical switch over from Midway Water to Fairpoint. And as I go through this slideshow right here, you can see we're having failures at the joints, at the bell. There's a rubber gasket that sits right under there, and we have typically see the failure mechanism to be in there. A really highly technical thing is this is just a poor batch of pipe that was formulated about 15 years ago. And we see this type of failure mechanism. The holes that wallow in, that's the high pressure water that goes through it, picks up sand and actually just sandblasts the hole larger. Typically a repair would be anywhere from $1,800 to $2,500 for the equipment. I've got a few slides in here showing our crews. That is just a repair clamp there. This is actually using a mechanical joint to slip in a piece of pipe and have two mechanical joints. But sometimes we actually have to contract it out because it's beyond our capability. Some of our dewatering, we're limited on what we have available at Navarre Beach, and we actually contract with contractors. When we contract a repair, that's on the order of magnitude of $4,000 to $6,000. And so our recommendation to the board today is that we get the assistance of CH2M Hill to develop a set of plans and specs to look at, number one, replacing this pipeline, or if feasible, slip line this pipe with HDPE, utilizing that existing run, and that will certainly reduce the impact to Highway 98 and 87. We connect right there at the ground storage tank at Midway, which is just a little north on the east side of 87, and we come down right in front of the auto parts store, and then right in front of Island View Realty, and then shoot across the sound through the park. And so we're asking for approval to move forward with that task order.
Mr. Roger, the only question I have, and I'll get to you in just a second, Mr. Commissioner Milton. You know, this has been going on since '05, and this was all new pipe when?
1998,
Okay.
I'm sorry, 1997.
And there's no recourse we have with the pipe company or anything on that?
No, sir, and I've got to say that Holly Navarre is experiencing similar failures on pipe of this same era. Within a year or two of this pipe, it seems like we'll have a break, they'll have a break.
Yeah,
So
I just, you know, because I know there's pipe all over the county that's quite a
we have
bit
it on
older
Navarre
than that.
Beach. We have older pipe than this
Yeah.
that's doing just fine.
What will be in replacing, tell me a little more about this slip joint type
Well,
thing and
we're
having
going
this
to
in-
research it. It's the same type of pipe that went under the sound. It was fused HDP, high-density polyethylene, that will slip inside this 16-inch. This is large diameter 16-inch. We'd be slipping something less than 14-inch OD. It would still carry the capacity that we needed, and what it would do is avoid this type of disruption to the rights-of-way and the businesses if it's feasible. First thing we're going to do is see if it's feasible, and then go out for bids as alternates. Excuse me, and then we'll discuss it with the board about which is the most economical, cost feasible, and then also, you know, which direction. But we need assistance. This is something beyond what we can do in-house.
Commissioner Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Jones, if you look for a class action settlement under a different corporate name or something, this is pretty incredible that something like this, I know this has happened in the field before, and there are huge class action settlement pots out there from Old John's Manville Pipe and some other things. There are class action pots around. I'm just curious, this is a pervasive problem. I'm sure there must be something. Well, you would think there would be something.
Well, the one thing that we associated, Terry Wallace and I did, was the fact that the pressure increased from when we switched to Fairpoint. Midway operates at 60, 65 PSI. The Fairpoint line went to 100 PSI. So, but, go ahead.
Have not checked, would be glad to.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody ought to be responsible for a little longer than that on that big of investment in a community, so. Yep. All right, well, with those caveats, I'll move this to Thursday and look forward to some future, some more discussion on these two items. Roger, do we need to bring it back Thursday, or do you need a little more time to investigate the slip
No,
joint?
we would need to authorize proceeding with the
All right,
technical
then we'll move
assistance.
that portion to Thursday and look
Yes, sir.
forward to some more backup on that.
Yes, sir.
Do so without objection. Hearing none, passes.
And item number 3 is a discussion item for the repair of our Komatsu 39. We went out for competitive quotes to do the undercarriage replacement, and we're recommending award of that maintenance to Beard Equipment for $10,412 and $421.12.
All right. Any questions? If not, move it to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, passes.
And finally, we have the discussion of the acceptance of the paving of Romano Street. It was a county roadway that was improved, and they resurfaced it, and we're recommending acceptance of that work that they did in conjunction with the Avalon Landing RV Park.
All right. Hearing no questions, I'll move that to Thursday without objection. It passes.
And Mr. Commissioner, that concludes the engineer's report.
Thank you, Roger. At this time, we'll move to Public Service Committee. Commissioner Lyncher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is discussion of modification of Homeland Security Grant Agreement in order to extend allowable time for expenditure and authorization for chairman to sign all related documents. You have the backup in your agenda package. Are there any questions? If not, I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Passes.
Item 2 is discussion of approval for the submission of a Citizen Corp grant in the amount of $15,000 with in-kind services providing the match requirement. Again, there's backup in your agenda book. If no questions, I'll move it to Thursday without objection.
That passes.
Item 3 is discussion of approval of the SHIP mortgage subordination request for the property located at 3844 Hazel Godwin Road in J. I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, passes.
Item 4, discussion of approval of the SHIP mortgage subordination request for the property located at 5104 Bradford Drive in Pace. I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5, discussion of approval of the interlocal agreement with Escambia County for the Veterans Transportation Initiative Grant and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Again, there's backup. Unless there are any questions, I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 6, discussion of approval of the vehicle lease agreement with Pensacola Bay Transportation. And this will actually be an extension for 3 of the vehicles, and we'll add 1 more vehicle to the transportation program. Unless there are any questions, I'll move this to Thursday without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. I want to make sure that we can obtain, if we need to, any kind of vehicle maintenance records and schedules on these 4 vehicles, and make sure they comply with those scheduled maintenances.
I would think we wouldn't want to touch the scheduled maintenance. We want to let that
Yeah,
be
we don't
there.
want to do them. I just want to have availability of records of them maintenances being, and we probably do, but I want to make sure that we have them on file, any records of scheduled maintenances on these vehicles.
Okay.
I do
Mr.
believe
Goldie.
we have access to the records and maintenance records of those vehicles.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Item 7, discussion of Section 5310 Capital Assistance Grant Application Update. Any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll move that to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes public services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works Committee now, Commissioner Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 items today. The first item is discussion of construction of multi-use path on East Bay Boulevard, County Road 399, from U.S. Highway 98 to Shadow Lake subdivision at an estimated labor and material cost of $217,315 to be funded from Area 3 impact fees. Are there any comments or discussion? If not, I recommend we move this to Thursday's agenda without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2 is discussion of resurfacing 22 roads throughout the county at an estimated cost of $1,355,425 to be funded from the Road and Bridge Reserves. There's a list of each road in each district that covers all 5 districts and the amount that it would be spent in each district on the roads to be improved. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, I recommend we move this to Thursday's agenda without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And the last item today, item 3, is discussion of constructing an 850-foot extension the right turn lane on Ward Basin Road at East Milton Elementary School, contingent upon school board approval to reimburse the materials cost as estimated at $25,000. And I recommend we move this to Thursday's agenda without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jim. At this time, we'll move to Budget and Financial Committee. Commissioner Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 5 items this morning. Item number 1 is discussion of budget amendment 2013-129 in the amount of $996,730, which will recognize the FEMA HMPG grant reserves and required match for the Phase 2 construction of the stormwater and drainage improvements for the recently reinstated Ramblewood HMPG grant. And these will be coming from the electrical franchise fee drainage reserve funds and carry forward some previously transferred but unused drainage match funds. And unless there are questions from the board, I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, passes.
Item number 2 is budget amendment 2013-130 in the amount of $670, which will cover travel reimbursement to Greystone Consulting associated with representing the county at the Florida Defense Support Task Force meeting and the Northwest Florida Coalition DC meeting visit expenses, and that would come from the grant fund. I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection.
Seeing none, it passes.
Item number 3 is Budget Amendment 2013-131 in the amount of $714,500, which would establish a budget for the Economic Development Transportation Fund grant funding the for the purpose of constructing a rail spur for Gulf Cable per the EDFT agreement, and these will be coming from the general fund. Unless there are questions from the board, I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 4 is Budget Amendment 2013-132 in the amount of $10,000. This will carry forward funds into the Navarre Fishing Rodeo, which was approved at the March 28, 2013 Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, and these funds come from the Tourist Development Fund. And unless there's questions or discussion from the board, I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 5 is discussion of the county expenditures and check register. I have that on my desk. It'll be prepared for your signature by Thursday morning, Mr. Chairman. I recommend we move this to Thursday without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Melvin. This time I'll ask if there's any other comments from staff or the board, anything from the general public. If not, it is 10:10 and we're adjourned.